Welcome once again to Half Baked. This is the podcast where two Northerners argue a point, running the entire gamut from antipathy to apathy. We'll discuss a subject. One of us will be presenting, it's me today, and we'll thrash it around between the two of us. And it's all about seeing where we end up with it, whether we want to fully bake it or whether we want to throw it in the trash. Some of those ideas are exciting and funny. Some of them are frivolous. Some of them are very, very serious. Like I say, it's all about seeing where we get to. I'm Sean. Bill, you're here as well today. What are you wearing? Where are you? And how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Alistair. But I am a bit surprised that I've just sorry, I got your name wrong. I've just called you Alistair instead of Sean. I don't know where Sean's come from, but anyway, I'm sure we'll get into that at some point.
Sean. I'm
Go ahead.
Sean. I've had my hair cut. I'm Sean.
Me too, actually. There you go. So maybe I'm Sean as well.
Where's Sean?
So,
We are Sean.
I'm here in sunny California, and very well, thank you. And I'm wearing a fairly nondescript shirt, but I'm pretty in pink, basically. I've got some quite interesting trousers on, but because I thought that would be interesting for today's, based on what today's topic is, which I'm sure you're about to get into. But I'm going to ask you the same, Alistair. How are you? Where are you? And what are you wearing?
I'm really good. I'm excited because I always love doing these shows. I'm in Yorkshire. It's dark, but it's all right. And I'm wearing Japanese denim on my top half. At least I'm wearing a sarong on my bottom half because sarong. But also because of this week's topic. I love the fact that you say you're wearing a nondescript pink shirt. Surely, if it's pink, you just described it. But I see what you mean. It is slightly nondescript. This week's episode, at least my idea is this, is that you should only really spend good money on clothes for the top half of your body. You should forget about everything else because no one really these days sees what you're wearing on your bottom half. So, if you are into clothes and you like looking good, like I think we both do, whether we look good or not is a moot point, I suppose, then target the money that you're spending on the top half. So your hat, your glasses, your shirt, your vest, another good vest, and just, go to a Chinese cheap market store and spend £1.38 on the cheapest pants you can get and a pair of trainers because no one ever notices pants or trainers. It's all about what's going on in the top half. So it's a big shot in the arm for the world of fashion. And that's my idea. And we'll get into it a little bit, but just on a surface level, Phil, how does that grab you? It's pretty sensible, right?
I think it's quite an interesting idea and concept, Alistair. But across the years, I've had several examples where you're completely wrong. Now, I think maybe it's true for me and you. Maybe me and you don't take much notice of what other people are wearing on for their trousers and their shoes. Maybe, but some people really do take notice. And I've got a very recent example. Just on Thursday, I was out there with this guy. He's 6'7". I don't know him that well, and he's 6'7". I mean, I've been on Zoom calls with him, and you can't tell how tall people are. I mean, you can't tell that you're 5'2" based on this, right? You can only you can think you're a normal height maybe. But this guy, I thought normal height. No, he's 6'7". That's not a normal height, and towers above me. But I met him at this wherever we were, this venue, and he came over a few minutes after I got there and said, "Oh my, let's talk about your shoes." Now, I was wearing some fairly interesting shoes. They were multicolored shoes, but the fact he's 6'7" and he'd taken notice of my shoes, I thought that was quite interesting. I'm not certain I'd taken notice of anything else that anybody else had been wearing as shoes, and even they could have been wearing gold shoes, and I'm not certain I would noticed, or high heels. And the other thing that's striking for me is he's 6'7". If I'm 6'7", I don't think I'd be you. All you got, everybody else would be like ants. I can't be trotting on them, crushing them, not really taking much notice because I'm 6'7". So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting that he was looking all the way down there and had spotted the shoes. So there's one example. I had a similar example when I've in Vegas about 10 or 15 years ago. Now, maybe the fact it was 10 or 15 years, maybe my examples are just 2 days ago and 15 years ago, so this doesn't happen very often. But somebody ran across a lobby of one of the hotels in Vegas, and this was a big lobby, to come and talk to me about my shoes. Now, they were very similar looking shoes to the ones I had on at this event a couple of days ago, but he was blown away by these shoes and asking questions about where it was. And actually, I went to an event about a year ago where somebody also was asking about the same shoes. So these shoes do attract attention specifically, and people are taking notice. The fact that maybe me or you wouldn't take so much notice, I think it's a different thing. Like somebody could be wearing some very expensive Nike trainers, and it wouldn't know.
Huh.
So
Right.
there's
Okay.
one example.
So someone ran over a casino floor or hotel lobby or whatever to comment on your show. I mean, this could be the shortest half baked episode ever because that absolutely dispels the notion of mine, which is spend your money on your top half and forget about your other half. So it begs the question: what the hell were these shoes? Multicolored shoes, like Timothy
Yeah,
Claypole? What? Explain, explain your shoes to me, Phil. Describe
I
them
mean,
to me, because
I
I can't
could
get
go
my
and
head
get
around.
them and show them. I think that's going a bit too far. They're shoes that were patent leather, which I didn't really know what patent leather was until a few years back. Which is they're shiny leather shoes, and they have one color at the front, and they're gradiated so that they're a different color at the back. So they do stand out,
Sound
and
horrible.
they're great.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. So maybe the flaw in my argument is that I'm just wearing boring shoes, and so that's shoes. It's a bit of a strange one for me to present this because I am a shoe lover. I've got loads of shoes. I will only buy shoes from a shoemaker, which will be no surprise to our audience because they know I only buy things that are made by the people who are meant to make the things. I just feel that in the days of Zoom meetings, particularly what you wear on your bottom half is just less important, and therefore, if you've only got a finite amount of money that you're going to spend on your outfit, put it on the bits that people are going to see, like a nice Japanese denim shirt. So that's what I think. Now, I I just bought this shirt recently. I was in a shop in Manchester and went in and bought it, and like after having tried it on and everything, and it just immediately changed the way I look. I think if I'd spent the money on a pair of pants, that they just wouldn't have noticed. No one would have noticed. The person in the shop, as soon as I donned my shirt with a nice white crisp shirt t-shirt underneath, immediately just looked at me and said, "That's a really strong look." And he wasn't talking about the pants that I put on or the boots or anything like that. It was absolutely about the shirt. Now, that means, on one hand, that I spent 50 years with a really weak look. Like, who knew? But I absolutely had rivulets of excitement running up and down my spine when he described me as having a strong look. And I think that was down to the fact that it was a really, really good shirt and I was really happy with it. It suited me. I fully maintain if I'd spent that on a pair of chinos or jeans or whatever, they would have just looked like any other pair of pants. So that's where I'm coming from. Now, okay, that's just my recent example, and I don't know if it really counts for anything, but another example I had was when you and your family were over here a couple of months ago, and we all went out for a meal at the restaurant, and I did an experiment. Do you remember the experiment that night? I
I
kind of
do.
there was like eight of us all sat around the table, and I asked everyone to close their eyes and describe what shirts everyone was wearing, which everyone could, but what trousers and what shoes everyone was wearing, and no one could apart from your son. Maybe he's that way inclined. But that kind of, to me, proved that it's only the bits on your top half that people really, really take notice of. So that was my little experiment there. Kind of proved the point, and that's probably why I've got to where I am today. Do you feel any more convinced now I've said those few bits about this?
Well, there's the few things that come to mind about what you're wearing on your bottom half. But one thing I think is worth pointing out: the viewers won't be familiar with your brand philosophy, Alistair, because although we shot that episode something like 5 or 6 months ago, we haven't actually published it yet. So maybe we publish that next week to follow on from this episode. It might be a nice little segue. But but yeah, I mean, I'm also big on shoes. I see shoes as just another transportation device. I'm big on cars. I'm big on shoes because they're just another transportation device. And I'm a big fan of that. You should spend a year's salary on your car. It should be that's how much you should spend on your car because it's a magnificent device. And I'm not saying you should spend a year's salary on your shoes either. But
No.
yeah, I mean, the other thing that occurs to me is that I mean, it's quite important that I wear trousers, I think, and not shorts. If I went to work and was wearing shorts, I think it'd be quite distracting for people because of my many years of cycling, I have quite well developed um, calves, and everybody just wants to have a look at them. They're so fantastic. And it's like going to work and somebody's wearing a look at top and push up bra or something like that. A very similar situation where everybody would be coming round to my office and making up excuses to come and see me just to have a look at my calves. It would be very distracting for everybody. Nobody would get any work done. So it's very important for me that I don't. It's very important for work that I don't turn up in shorts and I actually wear trousers to work. Um,
Even though are on record as being a Daisy Duke jean short wearer on this very channel.
that's
Are
right.
you sure when you rock up at work wearing your Daisy Dukes? Are you sure people are staring at your calves and there's some kind of admiration going on? You know, are you sure you're not just misreading the room a little bit there, Phil?
But I think a similar thing with you, Alistair. I think it's very important that you wear trousers to work and not shorts either, because for the exact opposite reason that because you've got such a lifestyle where you don't do anything, your muscles in your legs have wasted away. So people will just be like pointing at them, and that's it's
People call
completely the opposite.
people call me corpse legs. You didn't know that, did you? Corpse legs because I've got the legs of a corpse. Basically, they never see the light of day, and they never do any exercise, and they can barely hold me up. They're just withered stumps on the end of my waist. So yeah, no, it's a good point. That's fair enough. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I mean, so it's maybe not just about clothes. You know, we spend ages moisturising our faces, don't we? Because that tends to be what people look at. So you'll buy beauty products, you'll buy moisturisers or whatever it is, and you'll use them. You don't moisturise your ankles. Well, I don't. Do you? I'm guessing you don't moisturise your ankles, right? It sounds like
Not that
you
I
might
know.
oil up your calves, but that's a different thing. The point being that people spend the most time looking at your face and what's on your top half, and that's where you should spend most of your money. Tell me that you don't moisturise
Absolutely.
your ankles.
And the face is so important. That's why people see faces in the clouds. They see faces in. They try and see faces. Faces are very important to growing up, right, and to the human experience. So yeah, not so much ankles, but yeah. But at this point, I do think it's worthwhile. I did wear something special for on my bottom half for today's episode, which is these trousers that I've had for at least I don't know 30 years, and
Oh my god, what the
I've
hell are
worn them
they?
very. Yeah, they're some Prada pants that I bought 35 years ago. I've only worn them once or twice. I've still got them. But the one time I did wear them for a night out in Manchester, I ended up getting punched in the face. Now, I don't think it was as a result of wearing these trousers. It was just somebody on a maniacal episode going through the town punching people in the face. I wasn't the first person he punched, and there was no warning. It just happened. But I did think, oh, maybe I won't wear those trousers ever again. So that would, if it was, if me being punched in the face was down to the trousers, then it would say it does matter what you wear. I think it probably wasn't that though.
He would have punched you in the knees, wouldn't he? Do you know what I mean? If someone's being maniacal or whatever, walking along the street, you're coming the other direction wearing those trousers. They don't like. They take against the trousers for obvious reasons. They're going to punch you in the thighs or punch you in the knees, surely, because they're taking offence at the lower half of. I mean, God help them were they to punch you in the calves because they just like their hand would break and explode and fall apart.
I
Such as
noticed
the
earlier,
strength
Alistair,
in
you
the
said
calf.
you were wearing a sarong. Were you saying that for comic effect, or are you actually wearing a sarong? Okay, that's
For,
good.
people,
That's good
for
that you
anyone
actually.
listening and not watching, I've just stood up in my sarong. But that's kind of the point. It's a cheap sarong, right? I didn't spend loads of money because it's pointless. And if you hadn't, just mentioned it just then no one would have known. No one would have known. I spent so much of my time, like behind a desk or, out at a restaurant or whatever, then effectively what you wear on your bottom half matters less. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm just saying it matters less than what you wear on your top half.
But
So
you
great.
talked about this. Talking about this competition you did with my family when I was over there recently, and I think we would have been able to say what you were wearing if you'd have come into the place wearing a sarong. We would have remembered that, and maybe that's it, Alistair. Maybe this is just saying that people wear boring things on their nether regions, and that's why people don't take any notice. And it was very odd for me saying what you were wearing without saying doing it in a "what are you wearing" kind of voice. This time when I was talking, but yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe everybody's wearing boring things, and that's why it's nobody's taking any notice.
So this is great. This is taking this is kind of proving that I'm wrong, but it's taking the idea in a different direction. Men, particularly men, should wear more exciting things on their bottom halves. Their shoes should be coloured. Their calves should probably be exposed. So whatever they're wearing on the bottom half should probably start at just below the knee upwards. And it should probably be made out of pink curtain fabric with a certain swoosh to it. That's maybe where we're going wrong. Men tend to stick to chinos, three colours, probably grey, blue, or green, or a pair of jeans, and that's kind of it. Maybe my whole idea here is wrong, and it should be more about men should be more adventurous in what they're wearing in that kind of waist to lower knee real estate. Huh? You got me thinking now.
Yeah, I mean, normally I'd go and buy a pair of pants and trousers. I would buy grey or black, grey or black, grey or black. Recently, I went and bought some white jeans. I haven't bought white jeans since I was 18 or something like that. But I've actually got four or five pairs just recently, and it's a talking point. Who at your age you shouldn't be wearing that white jeans at your age? So it's a bit of a talking point, and I feel it's all right.
You bought 4 or 5 pairs of white jeans.
Yeah. Or trousers at least, trousers. And
Is it?
when I was in Nashville a few weeks ago, there was a guy who had a complete black and gold outfit. I wish I'd taken a picture. I mean, it was spectacular, and
Uh-huh.
I thought, yeah, he's got the right idea. I mean, it really stood out in the crowd.
But if you'd gone
So
to
yeah,
Manchester, you would have been chinned, right?
that's right, exactly. So I think more extravagant clothing is a good thing if you want to stand out and if you want to be noticed.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
you
Okay.
don't.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm coming around to your way of thinking. This has been really revealing in more ways than one. I'm beginning to realise that this is maybe about having a more um, exciting and challenging choice of what I wear on the bottom half, and I shouldn't just. Obviously, I'm wearing a sarong today for reasons of being on the podcast, but maybe the challenge is, Ali, Sean, whatever I call myself, wear your sarong more often than not, and people will start to notice it. Okay. Well, have you got anything, any more input, or we're going to draw this to a conclusion?
Yeah, that's it for me on this episode, this subject, Alistair.
I'm going to throw the idea in the bin. I really thought coming into this, it was a good way of supporting the British shirt making industry, allowing myself to spend less money on clothes, and I've done a complete about turn. What I should be doing is spending more money on ridiculous coloured loon pants and letting people notice them a bit more. So there we go. That's today's subject. We have had a little bit of reader correspondence in from some subjects we discussed over the last couple of weeks. Maybe last week, maybe the week before, we talked about film directors and the fact that a film director has only got three good ideas in him or her, or three good films in him or her. Someone quite rightly pointed out, what about Scorsese? What about Kubrick? And I feel like, you know what, they've got a point. We just forgot about Scorsese. We forgot about Kubrick. They have got more than three good films in them. Now, it was your idea, film. So now that in the cold light of day, I can say that and put it to you. Will you change your mind about your previous half baked idea?
No, and even when we were recording this show, I did think, oh, we're not talking about Scorsese, but I'm not convinced that Scorsese has done more than two or three good movies as well. I mean, he did Goodfellas, and then he did another movie that was Goodfellas, and another movie that was Goodfellas. They had different names, but they were just Goodfellas again, another Goodfellas. It's all the same idea with Martin Scorsese, so I'm not certain that he's done more than two or three good movies. Kubrick, I struggle to figure out whether he's done good movies. I don't think. I don't. To be fair, I don't think I've ever watched A Clockwork Orange. I have seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, and there's lots of good things about it, but I'm not certain.
Great
There's some
film.
things that are bad about it as well. And what else did Kubrick do? I don't know. I'd have to go look back at Kubrick's what he's done as a film to say
He
whether
did Full
I
Metal Jacket. Great film. He
and
did
I don't remember it.
Doctor Strangelove. Great film. So that's four when you include the other two that you mentioned. So that's four. So that kind of breaks the paradigm, doesn't it? Four good films. Kubrick.
I'm not certain I would say that all those films are good. I know that Doctor Strangelove, even though I can't say it, is lauded as a magnificent movie. I'm not certain if I agree. And Full Metal Jacket, I don't remember it. There were so many war movies came out around about that time that they all blend together for me. So I'd have to go back and have a look and see if I agree. But again, yeah, maybe. But and Scorsese does churn out lots and lots of movies, but they're all the same kind of idea for me. So I'm not convinced that he's a.
You're sticking to your guns. You're sticking
I
to
am
your guns.
sticking to it.
You are.
That's
You're not to be. You're not to have your mind changed, which is admirable, if wrong. Anyway, thank you for that correspondence. It's a shame that Phil won't listen to reason or sense. He'll still think that those odd few films are either magnificent or terrible because, as I realised when I rewatched that episode, Phil, you only ever think things are magnificent or terrible. There's nothing in between. And there's no other words, are there? It's either magnificent or it's terrible.
I know it was terrible how many times I used the word magnificent, but there you
It,
go.
it
And
was
yeah, and I think it's good to be not just on the fence. Have an opinion, just have an opinion, and don't
that's
be sat on the fence.
kind of what Half Baked is all about, which is a nice place to wash things up this afternoon. Phil, thanks for coming along. Thanks for giving me something to think about. And I appreciate. I will take it on board, having thoroughly trashed my ridiculous half-baked idea. And thank you to everyone else for listening, for tuning in. Please subscribe, comment, share on this channel. We're a small independent channel, and the more people get involved in doing those three things, down to you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll have another half-baked episode for you this time next week. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Alistair. See you. Bye.